Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Kimberly Cloud Show. I am your host, Kimberly Cloud. I have a very special guest here for the show today. Can you go ahead and announce to the world who you are and where you're calling from?
Sure, Kimberly, I appreciate it. My name is Chris Dundy, and I am currently in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania.
Okay, and however extensive, tell me about your past leading up into your present.
Sure. So I grew up in Alaska, and I spent 12 years in the Marine Corps. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I spent another 12 and a half years overseas. I lived in Korea, Japan, the Philippines, Saudi Arabia, Lebanon. In all those countries, I worked in the education industry. But in about 2007, I started with e-learning, online learning. And this to me was an absolute game changer. It was at that time the learning management systems, which is what my company does right now, were pretty revolutionary. There weren't a ton of them, and so I recognized that there was, a vast amount of advantage that these platforms could give to teachers by allowing them to be able to do a lecture, for example, one time perfectly, record it, and then deliver that perfect lesson for the rest of their lives, essentially. And so I thought it was a wonderful piece of gear. So that's what I've been doing since 2007. It's only working with learning management systems, and specifically the Moodle learning management system.
Is this like SOOS or software that can be computed for the consumer? Are you selling software for the consumer?
That's a really good question. So there are two types of software in the world, in two big categories. The first category is proprietary software. So that's something that somebody creates and they sell and they've got the license to it. The other category is open source software. And open source software, an example of this would be WordPress. Everybody's got WordPress as their corporate website, and that software is free for anybody to download. The same thing goes for my learning management system. It's made by a company called Moodle. It's an Australian company. It's the largest open source learning management system in the world. But the difficulty with it is, although it's incredibly feature rich and very versatile, it can also be a little bit finicky when you're trying to set it up on your servers and make sure that it's maintained properly, make sure that it's branded correctly, that the plugins are all installed correctly, courses, etc., are put on the platform. And so corporations tend to outsource that to companies like mine because that's not in their core competencies. The example I always use is a trucking company. If you're a trucking company, you're good at moving freight from point A to point B, but learning management and training, corporate training, may be a secondary skill set that you just don't feel necessary to develop in-house. It's cheaper, quicker, faster to give it to somebody like me.
So the servers, when you say servers, you mean between a set of like company computers. What like it is correlated between company computers. Each company, they do what they want with the software that you provide for their team. Is that what you're saying?
Oh, that's a really good question also. So that this can be done, Moodle can be set up in a number of different ways. Companies can download it and they can add it to their in-house servers. That's certainly possible, and we do have clients that do that. They manage their own servers, their own software, and then they employ us to administrate the platform on the front end, making sure that it's branded, that their users can get in correctly, that the courses are created correctly, etc. There is another set of users that don't want to do any of the work associated with that, and so they contract with us to put the software on our servers. We host it on our servers, maintain it, update it, etc., and then their company will access our servers with their learners.
It's more safer to put it on your servers because with their servers is a possibility that it could be compromised, but on your servers it's like a guarantee that it won't get compromised because of the set of skills y'all hold, right?
Well, all of that is true. Now, if you're talking about some of the bigger companies, we have some large manufacturing companies, and they have pretty extensive IT teams, and those IT teams ensure that their servers are secure. So, in circumstances like that, I'm not worried about safety and security for their platform. But There are certain smaller companies that don't have the requisite IT skills. And so in those circumstances, yes, if they did have to host this on their servers, it could potentially cause some problems, because there is a very specific set of skills that are necessary in order to make sure that the software is safe and secure. Our servers are hosted by Amazon Web Services, so all of the safety and security that comes along with that is inherent in all of our platforms.
Two questions. If you had an entrepreneur that wanted to start with software and what made, if you had an entrepreneur that wanted to start with software and
Mhm.
start and be in your shoes, how would they get started? And what makes your software so compatible to the industry?
So I love these. These are wonderful. If to a new entrepreneur and I have all the love in the world for people who are starting out as entrepreneurs, because it's a difficult and stress-filled endeavor, and so any help I can provide is definitely worth it. If you want to start off in software, there's two questions that you have to answer. The first question is, are you creating some software that is perhaps different from something else that's out there? And that is a separate entirely discussion entirely, because if you're creating your own software, there is no competition, presumably, or you're creating some kind of software in a particular niche that only you would occupy. So that's ideal. If you're doing something like I'm doing, which is you're not actually providing new software because we're using open source software that exists, what we're providing is services to the company related to that software. So for an entrepreneur starting in that particular area, the requisite skill set is going to be associated with the the maintenance and the administration of that software. So it's a lot less technical in terms of being, actually having to manage servers and databases and things like that. You have to have some knowledge, but generally speaking, it's more customer service oriented. So it's a lot easier for somebody who's just starting out if they have a piece of software that already exists and all they're doing is providing services around that software. And to address your second question, and I apologize, Kimberly, can you refresh me on the second question? I got off on a tangent there.
What makes your software so
Mm.
different?
Right. Actually, so Moodle is the largest open source learning management system in the world. It's used by everybody. It's used by higher education here in the United States and abroad. It's used by the U.S. federal government. As an example, I was the LMS administrator for the Peace Corps for a period of time. It's used by K through 12s. And and also by organizations like so for example, two of our clients, the Maryland State Teachers Union, and the Maryland State Education Association, which is the Maryland Teachers Union, and the Pennsylvania State Education Association, which is the Pennsylvania Teachers Union. So there are large organizations that also use this open source software, and the reason that so many different organizations, education, manufacturing, nonprofits, U.S. government, the reason that so many people can use this software is because it is so versatile, so feature rich, can do absolutely anything that your organization requires of it.
How many hours do it take to build such a software for my audience out there that want to follow that and possibly build their own open source software?
Wow, yeah, that's a really good question. I don't have any idea. The gentleman that built it, his name is Martin Dugiamas. He's Australian. He was actually born in the outback of Australia, and he did his education via correspondence. So what would happen when he was growing up was airplanes would fly in and deliver supplies to where he was living and deliver his textbooks for the week or month or however long it was. He would do his lessons and then he would send them back by airplane to be graded by hand. And when he was going through this, he would say, as he was growing up, he said, there's got to be a better way to do this. And he eventually went on to get his PhD in software engineering and put this platform together. Moodle went live in 2004 with its first version. And so they have been iterating on that first version since 2004, and obviously they're doing amazing things. They're on version 5 right now, and there's been lots of smaller versions in between. Phenomenal piece of software, but they have a full-time team of I believe several hundred people that are actually developing that software on a regular basis.
Are you incorporating or probably going to upgrade and get into having a host like quantum machine learning, or like putting your software and mixing it with quantum physics or quantum machine learning, however it is? How do you feel about like mixing that with quantum?
So I haven't seen a lot of development in that space. Artificial intelligence and specifically large language models are certainly making inroads into e-learning, and the Australian company Moodle that puts out this open source software has integrated some artificial intelligence into it. For example, users who are in a particular course can have a document summarized by the artificial intelligence, or teachers who are creating a course can have text generated. If they say, write me some questions, they can do that sort of thing. We are a long way away from having purely artificial intelligence instructors, if such a thing is even on anybody's roadmap. Essentially, what artificial intelligence does best is supplement the existing instructor or subject matter expert. It allows them to create their content more quickly. It allows them to create it more professionally, and perhaps gives them some variety of assessments, for example, that they might not otherwise have thought about. But it's not in any way, shape, or form going to be taking over educators' jobs, or jobs of subject matter experts. It's not at that level, and it won't be for the foreseeable future.
Well said. And tell me about, we're going to go to the past. Tell me about what your MOS was in the past. Was it technology or?
It wasn't actually. So I was both an officer and an enlisted Marine. So I did 7 years enlisted. At that time, I had two MOSs. My first was I was an anti-tank assaultman, which is the guy in the rifle company that carries the rockets and the demolitions. And my second job was as a nuclear weapons security guard. And when I changed over to be an officer, I was back in the infantry field. So I spent time commanding a rifle company and a rifle platoon, a weapons platoon, all things that have nothing whatever to do with my current occupation.
Yeah. So it's like it just popped in your mind all of a sudden at the right moment, and you started doing this
Well,
machine software.
yeah, it did. So I got out of the Marines in 2002, and I didn't know what I wanted to do when I grew up. So I figured I'll just take a break. I'll spend a year overseas, and I'm just going to teach English. I happened to see an ad for it, and I figured it looked like fun. So I'll go over. I'll spend a year teaching English, figure out what I want to do with the rest of my life. And then 1 year turned into 12 and a half. And while I was there teaching, I taught in a lot of different educational institutions. I taught in Korea at Kangwon National University. I also taught for the Korean Army's Military Intelligence School. I taught their
That
officers.
is so cool. I don't want to sit up there and sit on saying that that is so cool, but that is very cool.
It was that was a lot of fun. Military English is a lot of fun, and I was teaching. I taught their special forces, and I taught the Korean Secret Service. Actually, the Korean Secret Service sends their people to the school as well. So I had a lot of guys that are guarding the president, learning English from me. So that was kind of fun. Um, yeah.
What actually did you do when you taught English to Korea, or
Mhm.
what did you do?
So the way that it works is that the Korean Army selects some of their best officers and staff NCOs, and they put them through this school, particularly those officers and staff NCOs who are going to have to be interfacing with allies, because the common language between all of the militaries is going to be English. And so we used a set of textbooks from the Defense Language Institute, which is here in the United States. It's in Monterey, California. And they have English flavored textbooks. So all of the conversations are between staff sergeants and captains, and they talk about military related topics. So, in the course of learning basic grammar and syntax and that kind of thing, they still got introduction to the vocabulary that they would be using with their allies. And in the more advanced classes, of course, we can start to talk about things that are related to their occupations. So we can start to talk tactics with the infantry guys. We can start to talk indirect fire with the artillery guys. We can start to talk about combined arms operations. So it was a lot of fun. It was really enjoyable, and I got to use the military skills as well as the teacher skills that I developed.
So did you have to have a clearance, or was this classified? And also, what is syntax?
Mm-hmm. So syntax is word order, and the Korean language is very different from the English language in that in English, if you say "I ate the dog," it has a very different concept or a very different meaning than if you say "the dog ate me." The word order makes a difference, and we typically go with subject, verb, object as our standard word order. But in Korea, the part of speech for a particular word depends is determined by its ending. So you can take a Korean sentence and chop up all the words into little pieces, and you can throw those up in the air, and whatever order they come down in, the sentence will still make sense to a Korean, because the ending at the end of the word tells you whether it's the noun or the verb or the adjective, and you know exactly what's being said there. And so it's very different for them because they can't just mix up the English words. They have to get them in the correct order in order for the meaning they're trying to get out to be appropriate. So that was fun to teach. No,
Does
there was
con
no. I'm
does
sorry. Go ahead.
Kansamida, Kansamida, I used to live in Korea for like several months. I was
Mm,
in the army, and only language I learned was Kansamida, which means thank you.
mm-hmm.
And I was wondering, like, does the language, when they paint a picture of the symbol, it basically tells a story, right?
So
The symbolism.
no, that's a really good question, and it is a common misconception.
Hmm.
So if you take Japanese, or excuse me, Chinese, for example, Mandarin, those are characters, and they are actual pictures that have a particular meaning. And so in order to be able to learn Mandarin, you have to memorize the meanings of each of the pictures. And so to have a functional vocabulary, you're learning, if you want to read the newspaper, for example, you need to be able to memorize, and I forget what the number was, but it was something incredible, 3,000 or 4,000 different characters in order to be able to understand what's going on. The Koreans have an alphabet just like we do. So in English, there are 26 letters and 44 sounds. In Korean, there are 22 letters and 22 sounds. And so if you can read the Korean alphabet, you can read anything. There's only, each letter has only one sound that it's going to make. And so, for example, I taught myself to read. I got frustrated when I was in a tiny little Korean town, Chuncheon, which is the capital of Gangwon province over in the east. Tiny little town, not a ton of Westerners around, and I was by myself a lot. And if you don't speak Korean, at least a reasonable amount of it in a small town like that, it makes it very difficult to survive, to buy things, to get around in taxis, etc. And
Yeah.
so I got tired at one point of just not being able to communicate. And I said, I've been here for 3 months or whatever it is. I should learn to read. So I sat down in a McDonald's. I had the flashcards, and it took me about 90 minutes or so. But after that 90 minutes, I was able to read the alphabet, and I could look out the window and read the signs that were on. Didn't necessarily know what the vocabulary meant, but I could read the words. And so that's one of the differences between Korean and Mandarin, for example, or some of the other character-based languages, is that it's actually really, really simple to teach someone to learn to read Korean.
How can people that may want to move overseas move overseas? Because this is South Korea we're talking about, not North, right?
True, North Korea is sealed. Yeah, you're not going to get
Yeah.
into North Korea unless you defect or something. But no, so I mean, you can at any point you can go and get a job over there. It doesn't really take very much. There are lots of recruiters. If you were interested, for example, the easiest way to do it is to teach English. Typically, what happens is there's like a 6 week, maybe a 2 month course that you have to take, or you don't have to take it, but most people do, to get your certificate for teaching English to speakers of a second language. It's a TESOL certificate or a TEFL certificate. There's lots of places that will do it. You can do them online. You don't have to go to a school. It's inexpensive to get this. But once you've got that certificate, now you can go to a recruiter and you can say, hey, I'd like to be placed in Seoul, or I'd like to be placed in Busan, or in pick a city, or just see what's available for you. And then you can teach anything. I taught kindergarten and preschool, which was the hardest job I've ever had in my life, bar none, including 12 years in the Marines. I was exhausted at the end of a 4-hour day. But I taught elementary school, I taught middle school, high school, I taught college, and again, adult learners. So it's easy enough to do. Just get the certificate, find a recruiter to place you in a school, and then they'll take care of the rest of the paperwork.
So you have places like Squid Games, like, fantasy, and I wanted to know what's the cost of living over there? Like, is it brutal? Do you get, because when I watch Squid Games, they have very small apartments. Is that true? How's the culture over there? Are they humble? Do they open you with open arms? How does it work?
It is absolutely the friendliest culture you
It
will
is.
encounter. Yeah, they were amazing, amazingly welcoming. If you are living most of the time, if you are living in a city or even a medium-sized town, you're going to be living in what essentially we would call a studio apartment. And that studio apartment is going to have ondol heating, which is the floors are heated. That's where the heat comes from. And yeah, it's really actually I love this because Koreans maybe not most, many Koreans, and I think probably I'm fair saying most Koreans don't have beds. They have sleeping mats that they roll out on the floor, and the reason is because the floor is heated, so that bed is very, very warm, and it's wonderful. I really enjoy that. But you're gonna have a studio apartment. Um, Now, the last time I was in Korea working was in 2007, so it was quite a while ago, and so my input on the standard of on the cost of living over there is not going to be very accurate.
Accurate.
At that time, in terms of, so if you go anywhere in the world, Korea and Japan typically are going to have some of the higher salaries. The highest salaries are going to be in the Middle East. Those are amazing, off the charts, but the drawback is you have to live in Saudi Arabia. So you're getting a lot of money, but you're not going to have any fun. But Korea was wonderful because you're right there. You can travel to, all kinds of different countries. They're just, an hour or two away by plane. Lots of really good opportunities for meeting people from around the world. Very opening, welcome culture. And you're going to make, I mean, you're not going to make amazing money teaching English. You'll make great money if you're doing something else related to society. But teaching English, you'll be making, anywhere from probably 25,000 to maybe 45,000 or so. But again, this was back when I was doing it, so I don't know what it looks like now.
Tell me about well said, tell me about the technology like that they have. Did you really dip into technology? Because their phones, when I was there in 2004, were so out of this world. They were advanced by us because their phones were just so technologically advanced. That's all I can say about it. And the only way I can describe it, I don't know what's going on now, but I can only imagine. I've seen one phone where they were talking about how small it is. It's smaller than an average phone. Tell me about your experience with technological
Well,
advancements in Korea.
so I don't think the iPhone came out until 2007.
Mhm.
So when I was there, up until that point, everybody had the standard Nokia flip phones. I don't know that they were out of this world. I don't know what they looked like in the States at that time, but They made phone calls and sent text messages, which was
Exactly.
all I really needed at that time.
Yeah, like for instance, I didn't buy the advanced phones, but I always stuck with the cheap flip phone, because it, like you said, it just makes a phone call and everything else. So, where do you see yourself going and your company going for the future, Mr. Dundy?
So I mean, we're doing very well. There are lots of organizations that are happy to outsource their training, um, the training creation, and their platform support to an organization like us. We can do it better, faster, cheaper than anybody can do it in house. So, as an example, if you were going to hire one person to create training, we call those instructional designers. One instructional designer to create your training is going to start at about 60,000 a year plus benefits. For 60,000 a year, we can host your training. We can host your platform completely. We can provide you with a full-time administrator, and we can build you 10 courses a month for the rest of your life. So, that's, and the reason is because we are set up to do only that. And so I am envisioning a long period of time in which I continue to do exactly what I'm doing right now. The e-learning industry is not going to change. There's always going to be a need to get better educated, better trained employees so that your organization can perform at a greater efficiency level, and that's not going to go away. Um, and in order to do that, you're going to have people like me who can deliver really good training as cheaply as possible, so that your bottom line, doesn't take a huge hit.
What was the like amount of employees like that is on the negative side that you had? So have you ever worked with a company that had 5 employees or 3 employees or 10? Because probably on average you probably do people that's 10 plus employees, right?
At least, and so,
Exactly.
yeah, and the reason. So I'm glad you asked this question, because anybody, an organization with 3 employees, can download the Moodle software, add it to a server, and they can have a learning management system in about an hour. Um, and that's not what we do. What we provide is the administration, the course building, and the hosting, and all of that comes, unfortunately, with a price tag that an organization with only 5 or 6 or 7 employees is probably not geared up to support. I think probably our smallest organization has maybe 50 or 60 employees, but what they do is they take our platform and they sell training to other people. So they are actually software salesmen, and they are just using our platform to host that software while they bring in their clients. So it's not even internal to their organization, it's actually external. They sell training to hospitals for a variety of different things.
If you don't mind, how much is your price and why does it beat your competition? This is the last question.
Sure. Yeah. So we have 3 packages. The consulting package is the one that we typically get people coming for first, and the reason is because it's a very low dollar package. The consulting package depends on what your needs are. So some companies come to us and they need just one course built, or some companies come to us and they need just a few problems. And some troubleshooting for their platform because it's not working the way they think it's going to work. And then what happens invariably, is that once they've worked with us for that small period of time, they'll start to investigate some of our other packages. And the 2 packages that we've got are the administration package, where we will be your LMS administrators. And that package for us starts at $24,000 per year. But in order for you to be able to pay an administrator to work full time for you, you're not going to find somebody for under about $55,000 a year. So we're already half the price, and the advantage to that is we don't work 8 hours a day. We have people on staff 24/7. So there's always an answer to your question immediately, and if you've got something that needs to be done, we can take care of it. The last package, the most expensive package for us, is the hosting package. Now you can host this on your own servers, no problem, but there are nuances, tricks, things that are really important for you in terms of making sure that your platform is running smoothly, making sure that it's secure, et cetera. So our hosting package starts at about $37,000 per year. But with that comes, we back up your whole site will be backed up every 4 hours. And so that is something that most organizations will not do for you. They'll give you 24 hours. And so the problem is if you have an issue with your site, you could potentially lose a whole day's worth of training data. Whereas for us, the worst case scenario would you would lose 4 hours. And in addition to that, we also make sure that 100% of your site's needs are taken care of behind the scenes. Our uptime, we have, if you know anything about uptime, we promise 4 nines for uptime. So what that means is you're going to have, less than a few hours per year of downtime. So, and that downtime that you're going to have will be scheduled maintenance just to make sure that your servers are fine.
Well said. And how can the people reach you, Mr. Dundy?
We would love to. All of our consultations are free. So if you give us a phone call or schedule a time, you can go to flagshiplms.com. And there's in the upper right-hand corner, there's book a call with us. And we've got lots of openings if you want to talk. And even if you're just curious about e-learning and how to get started in it, again, there's no charge, but we would love to talk anything about e-learning or learning management systems. That's just what we do for fun.
Well said, Christopher. Thank you guys for joining my show today. Y'all take care, be safe, and I will see you guys another time. Stay on the line, Christopher.
Okay.
Bye.
Thank you.
Never waste my time. You are I want.